Okay, hello there, traders, and welcome back to the TOGS Trading Podcast. Here we are, TOGS 25, right? And what we're going to talk about today is about getting back in the saddle after a break from trading, and we'll come to that in a moment. So, if you're joining us for the first time, this is just myself and my great trading buddy Ian in Dublin and stuff, just chatting away about our own experiences of trading, and by doing so, hoping giving you a little bit of help and insight and maybe joy, maybe a bit of comedy, more often than not than anything else. So so without further ado, how are you doing, Ian? Looking good, Billy Ray?
Thank you very much. Quite tired, as I was saying just before we're off, quite tired today. I was up early. I was at a parent-teacher meeting this morning. That kind of stuff. Oh, it's delightful. It's delightful. And they have so much homework and everything is done online now.
Right.
And I found out recently that I'm quite a dinosaur with technology. I thought I was doing okay, but apparently I'm not. And they do all their homework. He's 7, but they do all their homework through Teams, Microsoft Teams. So when he does his reading, he reads to his teacher on Microsoft Teams.
Right. Okay.
So the old sitting up in the bed and reading the good night story is now Teams.
Doesn't really have the same cache, I'd suggest, and stuff. But
the other funny thing I found this morning is my son is in because he speaks German, he speaks fluent German. He's in a mother tongue class, and the teachers just explained everything to me in German, which I'm just standing there going, I don't speak German. I live in Dublin. Although I did live in Berlin for a couple of years, but it's the worst place in the world. It's a terrible place to learn German because everybody speaks. Because when they hear your accent, what they know you're English speaking. They don't know where you're from, but they know you're English speaking. So if you say, "Excuse me, ich möchte eine Tasse Kaffee," which is I'd like a cup of coffee, they'll reply to you and tell you the price in English. So I find that quite, and they're very, very quick to do it. They want to show you that they can speak English and make it easy for you. So I found that quite difficult. So I lived there for 2 years, and I could have a conversation in German when I came back, but for 2 years living in a country, it wasn't the standard of their language that one would have hoped for. But I also worked for an American company as well, and the American company's company's language was English. But
like that, Norway's a bit like that and stuff. My friend was living out there dating because he was dating a Norwegian girl and stuff, and I went out there a couple of times and stuff and hung out with him and her and all her girlfriends. It was terrible, and but over in Norway, it's cool to speak English. So as soon as they hear that you're English or you speak English, they're all into you. They all want to speak to you.
So they don't dub the films or something. They don't even dub their television, like they have Miami Vice or something on the telly. Date myself a little bit. I don't think they even dub them anymore.
Right. Probably, maybe not. But that makes us easy being sort of native English speak as well. I'm sure some people struggle with our accents, but anyway.
That's their problem.
That's their problem.
I speak wonderfully. I don't know about everybody else. Just because I can't understand them. At least I don't speak like Dublin.
That's true. That's true. That's true. So, listen. Before we crack on and stuff, we just want to make people aware that we also now have a website and stuff. Talk about being technologically challenged. We have finally got ourselves a website, so it's called togspod.com. I'll probably put a caption in there or something to link it, but you can see that. Okay, and what it'll have is it has actually all of our. Not only does it have all of our previous podcasts on that, but it also will have links into both Ian's kind of blog on Facebook and also into my Monday market updates, so you can actually see that we do walk the talk. Okay, we do actually know what we're on about. All right, we can see we're doing this day in day out in terms of engaging with markets. And for those of you, as always, listen, thanks for all of those of you who've subscribed, those of you who kind of send us comments, messages, your trading thoughts, we always really appreciate. So thanks very much about that. Really, it's really good to have that. So, getting back into the saddle after a break, Ian. Now, when I kind of thought of this as a title, I was trying to be kind of broad, as in, here we are coming back after A, break from the podcast, B, our summer break, but also broadening it because, people do sometimes come back to trading after breaks because they might have had other enforced breaks because life happens, isn't it? That's what goes on and stuff. So when you're thinking about coming back to trading after a bit of a time away, what are the kind of things that are on your mind?
Well, the first thing when I sat down and thought about it during the week was it wasn't so much that you were away from trading as much as why were you away from trading? Because I think that has a bigger effect than anything else. I mean, if you're down the Maldives with the girl of your dreams for 2 weeks or something like that, and you're coming back to trade, it's a much different thing than, you blew up one of your trading accounts and you really felt that you were burned out and you couldn't go on. So that's the first question I would ask when somebody's going on when it comes to breaks is, why did you have a big loss? And then with our increasing age as well, are you sick? Were you ill for some reason? Because I mean, if you're coming back from illness, that's that's another thing to ask. Because I know myself, even with like flus and things like that, which have gone on for a month, that I wasn't really, like, I took maybe 2 weeks off from trading with things like, first time I had COVID, for instance, I was quite sick for a month. So it took time to come back from there. How long was your break? There's a big difference from going to a weekend wedding in Kerry to being off for 6 months.
Yeah, true.
Did you actually have a break?
Yeah.
You're away from the trading, but if you're driving your elderly parents to the doctor, we'll have to do now these days.
It's not relaxing. No,
it's not that. Right. No, sitting in a cardiac unit or something waiting room is really it's a level of hell, I think. Really.
Yeah, spent some of my days there. Yeah.
Are you burned out? Just simply burned out? Because I think trading does one of two things. Even when you're relatively successful, it either gives you energy. So I find a lot of the time, particularly at the moment when it's all tickety-boo, like it actually adds to my day. I go into work and I come out feeling energized because I've had a good day. I might be tired from the physicality of having to concentrate, but overall I get an energy boost from it. Or on the other side, for a long, long time, it would burn you out because you were, white knuckling your trades. You were having successful trades, but you were really emotionally engaged with those trades when you were doing them. So, that could sap the energy out of you. Were you soft quitting? That's a question. An awful lot of people, throw their hat at it and I'm never doing this again. Whatever. This is waste of money, waste of time, waste of energy, waste of whatever. So they soft quit, and then 2 months goes by, and then they start looking at the chart and they get tempted back into a disastrous relationship. So it's well.
That's a good way.
I was talking to a therapist friend of mine once, and she was, we were talking about my job, she was saying it just sounds like an abusive marriage. Because it decided, the trading was deciding at the time how my day was going. I was either going to have an ecstatically great day down to the dinner table in the evening time, or else I was. So it was.
There's tons there. There's tons there, even just for us to start with, isn't it?
I just one last one to say about that. Has your life changed? Like, has something else changed? Like, have you had a baby, for instance? So, like, that's going to. When we had our son, like, I never dropped the baby weight. Afterwards, it ruined my body, I think. I went from being really fit and quite a lot to that. So a big change in your life. That's another.
That's true. And we could start with that last one because I've worked with quite a few traders over the years who basically, they're in a happy relationship and a baby is arriving and stuff, and they tell me how they know their life isn't going to change. They're still going to be able to trade full time and stuff. I don't have kids, but even I know, and I try and tell them that is not happening, sunshine. Do you know what I mean? Your world and your life is about to completely change, and actually sticking to a rigid routine of how you trade and engage with markets is likely to probably cause you stress, and also likely to cause challenges at home and stuff. And so actually, don't be surprised if you do need to take a break from that. Okay, and if that's whether it's a 1 month, 2 month, 1 year break, whatever, you have to do what you have to put yourself in, because actually, it needs to be an enjoyable experience. Not an enjoyable experience. Not sort of trying to think. But what happens is, especially for men, is that of course, as soon as they know there's a baby coming, then they start to put pressure upon themselves, because they start to be anxious and worry about, well, actually, hang on a minute, I'm going to pay for the lifestyle. How am I going to, how am I going to do that? Which is, perfectly natural. It's a perfectly natural way to respond. But invariably, that can add anxiety, performance issues, etc. there and stuff. So it's if there is if there's a new arrival to the family, you probably want to recognize that break is gonna happen, all right, and it's going to be in. And even if there's not a break, you're probably not going to get much sleep. So actually, your trading performance might well decline. So maybe a break mightn't be the bad thing, for you to take that on board and stuff. And equally, on the other side of the kind of spectrum is, if there's been a death in the family, right? Okay, if there's been a death in your family, then don't be using trading as a distraction. Don't be using trading as a way and a means to basically distract yourself from dealing with grief. Grief is a mofo at the best of times and stuff, and actually hoping that you can just focus on the candlesticks, and that will insulate you from those kind of feelings and emotions is a poor strategy, and one that's likely to blow up in your face. I think I might have told it in series 1 a tale about a fund I did some consultant work into, where basically the young Aussie trader basically, after the death of his grandfather back in Australia, just basically blew up the whole trading fund and stuff, and basically just manifested his grief and sorrow in really terrible trading. I mean, he was a terrible trader anyway, but that's a different story. But basically, he did that and stuff. So those family elements, you're absolutely right. Understanding why you're taking a break, but in terms of certainly the first point, and if it's because of family reasons, this is an opportunity for you to decide whether you are living to trade or whether you're trading to live. And ideally, it should be the right one and stuff, but that can be different for every family, can't it?
Well, yeah, but every job gives you maternity leave or paternity leave of some sort. So trading should be the same. You should at least get the same. I mean, you're working for yourself. You should at least grant yourself the same privilege as somebody working in the civil service. So it's and then I have to admit, when we had our son, the first 3 months, I don't think I did very much, to be quite honest with you, because on top of everything else, it's quite like it at the moment, because I went from having the house to myself when I was at work to suddenly having 2 people at home all the time. And one of those people was really quite noisy. I mean, it is like having a span new flatmate, having a baby who just poops everywhere and makes a mess. So I found that quite, and definitely the financial side of it. I mean, I was trying to work out one of the days, how much does it cost in Dublin to have a child? And for us, it's about 1,500, I think, per month that it costs, that you're paying an after-tax money out. And that is quite extra money that you're paying out. That's quite an extra amount of money to have to come up with. Your school fees and clothes, and when you go on holidays, there's 3 flight tickets. There's not 1 flight ticket, and so on and so forth. Because using trading for distraction, I wouldn't say I use it as a distraction, but I use it for relaxing sometimes, because I find that trading time is very much my time. It's the time that I generally get to close the door to the rest of the world and just do something which I'm okay at, and and I don't have to think about things when I'm trading. To a certain extent, I can switch off and just sit there and trade, because if I'm thinking about other things, then I can't trade. So I don't think, if you are distracted, I think it's rather than using it as a distraction, if you are distracted by birth or death or whatever else, no, you shouldn't be using trading. But I'd find trading as a great relaxer at the same time, and find it as just me time, quality time. And I think that the birth is a far bigger deal than death. really. If you have like one, I've lost close family members, and you're more or less done in a week or 2 weeks. You might have some sadness after that or whatever, but it's not waking you up at 4 o'clock in the morning and making you deal with human poo. So it's a much more distracting thing having a kid, I think.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. And a couple of the other points you made there about why are people taking a break? If you're burnt out, etc. If you're coming back from burnout, well, first thing I think is say is if you're even having that conversation with yourself, am I burnt out? You probably are. All right, probably are. But then coming back from it, it is a case of, is it going to be a successful and sustainable return to trading if you're coming back from burnout? You can't just keep doing the same thing again, because all that's going to happen is you're going to burn out. And so you do have to spend a bit of time in that break, working out how to change the way you change the way you go about it and stuff, and to change the way you do a business, making it more just making it sustainably independent in terms of you are able to sort of continue it, rather than being on the edge, as you say, of like white knuckling your trades into your next breakdown. It might even be, as opposed to burnout. I know from my own experience from many years ago and stuff, I had a really bad sports injury, from playing team sports, and I managed to do my hamstring, my quads, and my sartorius muscle. I didn't even know what the sartorius muscle was at that particular time, but I properly did it. And even now, 15 years later, it can be painful to the touch. But the thing is, as part of my rehab, I worked with absolutely fantastic therapist, etc. And I had been working for a hedge fund, and as an intraday trader, and she basically just sort of said that you're spending your days, 10 hours a day, sometimes 5, sometimes 6 days a week, sat on the edge of your chair. Even if you've got a very expensive, comfortable chair, you're sat on the edge of your chair, okay, for long periods of time, trading, and that had put pressure on my hamstring. And then, despite me playing sports, despite me, having a bit of a run and stuff and what have you, I just didn't sport, and it blew up. Bosh, bang! My leg just literally blew up. But the thing is, I was laid up for about 6 weeks and stuff, because it was done. But that actually, I had been at that time an intraday FX trader. That was my job for the fund. But actually, that time, I in fact, I was bored. I read Darvis's book, about how I made too in the stock market. And that was one of the things that actually shifted my way to basically to looking and focusing on weekly charts, because I was like, I don't want to be laid up like this before. I have to change the way I do my business. And so that thing, created a complete change in terms of, at that period, from moving from being an intraday trader to being a much longer term swing trader, because I just did not want to, I didn't want to go through that again, and B, I just couldn't, sitting in front of screens for 12 hours a day is just not good for me on many, many levels and stuff. So if you are coming back from a breakdown or a burnout, whether it be a mental, emotional, physical one, you do have to, you owe it to yourself to spend time to think, well, how am I going to do it better this time? And it might not necessarily be about having a better trading system or a faster computer or what have you. It might just be about your physical environment, that you need to change to the way you conduct yourself, as I say, to give yourself the best chance to come back, and for it to be sustainable, for you to be able to sort of sustain that, at a level that is, you can keep going for a good while, rather than just blowing up, which is what my leg did halfway through a sports game. So there you go.
Yeah, I've burned out, I have to admit, a few times from trading as well, particularly in the earlier years, because again, you're just emotionally involved with your trades. Now at the moment, I couldn't get burned out because I'm not emotionally involved with the trades, and also you're trying to do something which is horrendous. It's very easy as well, I think, for a lot of people to do it, because it's such a complex. There's a couple of things with it. It's a very complex thing to do in reality. It's a very complex, easy thing, you're trading. So it's, you have that with it, and then you have well, I was just thinking as well, you can't get burned out at something that you're good at. It just doesn't work. So there's something, if you're facing burnout, there is something going wrong with your actual trading. There's some reason why you're facing that. And a lot of it is sometimes is that your ego gets caught up with what you're doing. So you're having to produce an income or a result, and it's usually for a lot of traders, it's not a financial result. It isn't. We're not stuck for, a lot of people are not stuck for the money. A lot of people are doing this as a sideline, and so it's an ego. Their ego just gets caught out with it, and then you're doing something that's complex that becomes part of your identity that you're not particularly good at. So it's a real bad formula for carrying on doing. One of the things, and that's always going to turn up in your body. There's a good guy, a guy I do watch sometimes called Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
And I one of his books upstairs, and I watched a few of his videos, and I find it very good because he's very congruent with my own belief system. Excuse me, too much coke. And it's basically that all of these problems all end up in your body. You're either going to have blood pressure problems, or you're going to have, because I've had blood pressure, and I know that is very linked into how I'm feeling, much more than anything else. And one of the other ways I knew when I was starting to face burnout is I was looking forward to getting the flu.
Oh, yeah, that's a red flag, isn't it?
Because it was time you could take time for yourself and to take time off. And I'm really, for years, suffered with varying degrees of workaholism. So I found that quite a thing. And the last thing I say about it is just, if you are in any kind of community of traders and you are burning out, just go public with it. Just tell people that you're do it, because there's somebody out there. There are people that will support you. There are people who will help you find a solution. So if you're in a relatively safe environment, like a lot of these sort of smaller trading rooms, they're more like sewing circles really for traders. Just come and say how you're feeling, and somebody's going to have some sort of answer or something for you, even if it's the fact to tell you that it's just normal, because all traders go through emotional problems with trading. It's a part of it, and just to even be told that that's normal, that you're not abnormal, you're not especially failing just because you're having a tough time.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there. All right, I would agree with you there and stuff. The one of the things I do, I don't think I can bring it up here, or maybe I got it to beg it, is that I kind of keep every morning I do like a psychological fitness test, about how I've slept, what's my emotional attitude like, okay, how have I exercised, have I meditated, or what's my eating been like, okay, just as a few things, okay. And I notice it's almost like a bit of an early warning. It's like an early warning system for me, as in once the scores start to go down, that in itself is telling me that, I'm becoming a little bit jaded, and actually you should take, I'm a big fan of prevention is better than cure. You're a bit jaded, Paul. It's better you take a bit of a break before it's imposed upon you, before you need it, before it becomes burnout, right? And take a little bit of time away. Okay, and that might only be like a long weekend, but it might be a long weekend of like literally no devices, nothing. Just literally switch off and go and have a walk around the fields and what have you. But that works well for me. I appreciate others might be different, but having an early warning system to basically to help you foresee kind of the probability of burnout increasing is no bad thing for people to take on board, I think. But each their own in terms of the way they go about that.
Because I have to do, before I start trading every day, I do a self-check. Like I don't have a checklist for it. So it's an internal thing, and it's because I've been doing it before I even saw trading. I was doing it basically to see how I felt. How was I okay? Was I in the right space? Was I doing whatever? And I found that really, I'll be totally honest, it was from trying to chat up girls. Because if you had to do a self-test beforehand, because if you weren't on the top of your game that day, it was better to say nothing and not look stupid. And there was always tomorrow than to go in there and so I would do a self check, and if I wasn't feeling up to the thing, it wasn't working. I would just retreat from the field, and I learned to do that as a from that particular thing. And the second thing with that, I think, is that you have to recognize, like I recognize there are things going on in my life at times which are not conducive to trading. I need to have a relatively quiet morning if I want to trade my best. Now, to give you an example, last Friday, I went in, I think I lost 3 points or something in the first trade. It was nothing of any consequence. But I had a really busy morning. I hadn't had a great night's sleep. I was tired, and I knew that I was vulnerable to making mistakes. And I just shut down. I stayed there for the day. Like I stayed and watched everything, but I didn't put on a live trade after that. Because I simply knew that there are elements in my life that come into my life every once in a while that are just, you can't have it every which way. You either have to go out and do this one big thing and not trade, or else not do that thing and trade. There isn't a second thing with it. And it's the self-checking thing. It's real skill. It's a skill that I think everybody should have. And for me, it's just about finding what's the raw emotion that's inside you first. How do you feel today? There's usually you usually have not making it complex, you usually have a main emotion, whether you're angry or you're sad or you're frustrated, or some emotion is in there. And if you feel that, if you can sit down and just feel that's how I feel that in my body now at this moment in time, then you can work the rest of it out. But I think an awful lot of traders are going to, anybody who goes into trading, especially when they're on their own, is going to get some level of burnout before that they get successful. Because nobody does this easily. Trading, I mean, it's because there's so much change. That's another big thing with it. You're having to change yourself and change your subconscious and face your inabilities, and it's a huge amount of work, because trading itself is just price can do three things. It can go up, it can go down, or it can go sideways, and you only have to pick one. Any day, especially as an intraday trader. My entire job just comes down to picking one direction and then trading the signals in that direction. That's all it is. It's not rocket science, like.
No, it's not. Well, we men overcomplicate it more than it needs to be.
Yeah, but it's the emotion.
I've been as guilty as anybody else of that. But it's interesting that point you just said there before about how you're doing your self test and about where it came from in terms of your background of being the Dublin Lothario and such, and about how understanding if you're not the top of the game, well then actually remove yourself from the opportunity to make yourself an Egypt and stuff of you, and that is just part of that is just coming from my background, okay, as a battle manager for the Air Force, etc., is that you really, wherever possible, you only want to pick fights that you can win, and actually discretion is the better part of valor. If you pick your battles, and if the battle isn't on your terms, well then actually the smart thing is to disengage and run away bravely, like brave Sir Robin, and that's the same with trading, right? In terms of if you are not in a good place, if you're not, whatever is required for you for your, let's say your bar, for your performance level, etc., it is better to run away bravely and then come back when it actually suits you. Because there's nothing worse, I say it all the time, there's nothing worse than knowing you're not in a good place, knowing you're vulnerable to making poor decisions, and then trading poorly and giving it money, because it's just another stick to beat yourself with in the debrief afterwards. Because I shouldn't have traded that because I'm not at it today for whatever reason that might well be and stuff. So I totally understand. We understand that. But from coming from different directions, but the outcome is relatively the same. Just recognizing, but if you're not in a good place, don't push it, and it is and then it's a case of what can I do to put myself in a good place? Is there something I can do right here and now, or is there a larger challenge that I need to address to basically change this working around and stuff? So that's all. That's all. Very good, very interesting.
Just every day. I think every day that you work that you're not 100%. You're just putting your success back by a day.
Yeah.
That's all you're achieving, really. I mean, there are some days you can always get something. There's nothing else to do but trading. But I mean, people will see that there's no point, basically. Anyway, I was going to go on to the next thing, the coming back, the actual process of.
Yeah, that's it. Good. Let's get on to the actual coming back itself.
Yeah. So the first thing to do is recommit to trading. That's a big thing for me, because there was one point which was a big point for me, which is I had to, I was struggling with trading when I was starting off in that sort of valley of death that you go through. And I had to commit to it. I had to say, this is my style. This is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. And I'm either going to sink completely with this, or I'm going to go, but I had to commit to it. And I think every time that you come back to trading, in a way, you have to commit to it. This is the relationship that you're in, and this is what you're doing. Prepare your workspace. I can't work in a messy office. The cleanest room in this entire house is my office, because
it's interesting.
I can't, and I find a part of the process, like I find a part of the getting ready process is to prepare the area. It's like even when I go out at night, like I'll often lay out clothes and get the whole thing ready, and have a little whatever, and it's part of the process of getting ready. It's part of getting you in the mindset is this area preparation. You're just preparing your if you enjoy trading, you're more likely to have maintained much of the mindset while you were away. I went on holidays in the summer. I looked at charts when I was on the beach. Just because I did. Get your chatting out of the way. When you go back into work, like, I'm not showing you my holiday snaps.
No, I don't think anybody.
No, I'm not showing you my holidays.
Of course, this is a private joke between Ian and I. Ian likes to spend his holiday on special journeys. Shall we just say? So nobody needs to see Ian's holiday.
Nobody needs to see my holiday snaps. No. I've got I was in Germany. I went to a clothing optional beach because I have done that loads of times, and that's what everybody finds bizarre. That's to me, it's not. It's just a normal thing.
Maybe that'll be where you hold your first trading workshop.
People want to do it. It's a different culture. I used to live there.
In the nip. All those people in the nip.
It just looks like, what it looks like? It always reminds me of, you ever see those nature programs with a load of walruses, and it's just this flesh. That's what they look like. It's just a beach. It's
fabulous.
Yeah, fabulous. I don't know. To me, it's not the big deal. Everyone else finds it. But anyways, I'm saying, get your chatting out of the way. So when you go back from your holidays and you, especially if you're in one of these sort of like trader knitting circles, you want to chat. Oh, I was away. I did this and I did that, and I was over here, and I was in Paris, and I was in France, and I was in Germany, and I was in Italy, and I was wherever. Just get that done. Get it. You're going to want to do it, so you have to get it done. The rest of it then is kind of is the normal things, like you do your full review, but even a more extensive review. You have to see what's happened over the last few months. You have to get an idea of the charts. You're going to I spend a half an hour getting ready in the morning. If I came back after a holiday, it could be 2 hours. Because I'm going to do an hour the day before just to have a look, get your charts all updated, all that kind of stuff, and then get yourself into a proper frame of mind. Trade, waiting for the best. So the first trade, I often like to wait for one of my higher probability setups, because then all my setups are not the same, don't have the same bang for their buck. Like I have a couple of setups that even if I'm not feeling it, the risk reward is so good on it that I have to take it.
Yeah.
You know, I have to take this. Yeah, I say it sometimes, you know, if I'm in one of the trading rooms, I have to take this setup, even though it looks crazy. But if I don't take every one of them, I'm going to miss one of them, and one of them, those they pay. So some of those, so I have to wait. I can wait for them and then do it perfectly. And it's the easiest way in because you have this real belief in this one particular setup. So you just get in there.
That's me being popular.
And then trading small, you know, that's the that's the golden piece of advice for everything, really, you know, is that if your trading size is 10, bring it down to 2 or something for your first trade. Just take the pressure off, like.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd agree with all of that and stuff. And it's yeah, you know, you especially if you're an intraday trader, you will get you'll get skills fade, even like with a week's holiday. You know, you will have a degradation of your reading, and you know, listen, you know, if you're away on a break or away for a bit, you know, on a fast jet squadron, you know, you're not jumping in the jet first thing on your morning back. Okay, you know, if you're working a corporate job and stuff, your first morning back after a break, whether it be for holiday, and then you're not launching yourself into, you know, a meeting with the MD, etc. And it's the same with trade as well. If you've had a bit of a break, launching yourself back in with intensity and at size is just not a smart way to do it. You will have had a skill fade, you will have a degradation of your performance. So actually, you take your time to actually enjoy it. Enjoy getting yourself back up to speed. Enjoy getting yourself back into the level. And you're absolutely right. You know, trade small. Just ease yourself back in. Trade small. All right. Do the right thing. Get back into your process, etc. Because it is amazing. You come, you know, you get into these processes and then you come out of it, and actually, you know, within a week or 2 weeks, you know, it's amazing how quickly it can. You can remember it, but actually, you pace at it. Your ability to do it at a kind of unconsciously conscious way and stuff, it drifts, and you need to ease yourself back into it, don't you? So yeah, don't be launching yourself in at size and intensity on your first day back, because it's you just set yourself up for a bit of heartbreak, aren't you?
When I was reading about that, just as a matter of interest, I read one of the articles I read said, you know, maybe do your first trades on the simulated account. I think that's rubbish, because you have two problems with it. Is that one is that that's like taking a step backwards.
Yeah.
You have no emotional involvement with fake money. You know, I mean, anybody, and that's the thing that I always find. I mean, I think sim accounts are absolutely fabulous for a lot of things. You know, and I think there is a time, sometimes even if you are alive, that you have to go back to it for a little while or whatever. You know, there's no reason why you wouldn't. Sometimes when I'm spread betting, like when I know I'm going to be spread betting all day and I won't do live things, I'll mirror the same trade using the sim account, so it tells me how many points I have. So I press long and then press long on the spread bet and then press long on the sim thing and then you're live in the spread betting thing. But it's actually a better way of making, because spread bettors, their pricing is disastrous.
Yeah, these days,
yeah, I think they're quite hard to make money off. I think there's a great thing with them is that I think if you can make money on the spread better, you can make money anywhere, really, you know, at this stage. Also as well, getting off sim accounts is a job in itself. You know, it's like going back on to me, in a way, it's like going back on a drug that you used to take. You know, you go and then having to quit that drug again. And that's what sim accounts are, you know, because I think a lot of people, because simulated accounts are so, you can do anything on them and anybody can make money in a sim account. I think anyway. And you can get involved in them, like sort of because you can't lose, you know, emotionally. You lose in a sim account, yeah, you were jig-acting and you were messing and you wouldn't do that live. And then if you actually make money on your sim account, then you're like, oh, look at me, I'm king of the traders at the moment. And then the other thing too is that sim accounts are generally quite a lot bigger than your actual live account. So, you know, adding in 73 contracts or something or whatever it is you can do that in a sim account, but you can't do that live.
Yeah.
You know, because you wouldn't have the account size for it. So you're even using different you're trading in a different way, and that's that's a problem with them, I think, basically.
Yeah. No, there is problems there, but no, you're right. Find a way to ease yourself back into it and stuff. Sim's fine for if you need to get yourself back into the kind of muscle memory of how to put on a trade in place, but actually in terms of managing emotions and easing yourself back into trading, it is limited. All right, it's limited, and I think we've spoken about that as well in a previous podcast. Haven't we? About how these days it's not really the excuse. Even with people can trade at like micro lots and stuff and whatever. There's no really an excuse, is it? There's that option to basically to get stuck in, right off. Just don't do it at the size. All right, just ease yourself back into it. And I'd be saying that the in terms of what success looks like is actually that you're back into your process, and that you're back into your ability to analyze and connect with the market, to reconnect with the market, be able to read it. Okay, not so much putting on winning trades, but actually back into your process, doing your analysis, reconnect with the market, and you'll know yourself. Certainly, I do. I know when I've got a good read, and also when I'm detached, but not in a good way. And my ability to analyze is not. I'm off the I'm off the kind of pace, and so part of that is recognizing that, and just realizing that actually, you just got to work and getting back to your best process, your best practice, more so than just trying to launch yourself in.
So I always find if I'm thinking while I'm trading, like if I'm doing too much thinking, you're always doing a little bit of thinking, but if I'm doing too much thinking and I'm not doing a lot of feeling, because I'm very intuitive with trading.
Yeah.
And I know that if I'm having to overthink my trades, like logically say that this should happen here, that should happen there, then there's something not running proper for me. There's time to consider getting out for the day. Because it's especially because it's intraday trading and the scalping for me, so it's very quick. So you really rely on feelings a lot of the time, and I suppose your own ability, and then you're not taking a huge amount of risk anyway, because you're only going to risk what's losing the trade. It's nothing.
Exactly. No, brilliant. All right. Well, listen, I think that's probably we can probably start to draw ourselves to a close here. I think it's interesting that we've come from different places, but we definitely have ways in terms of understanding burnout, and understanding about returning, and understanding how you manage that. But then also we both agree in terms of actually, if you are coming back, regardless for whatever reason, okay, you're coming back to your trading, but that actually that there's a way and a means to do it, okay, and that actually, it's not a case. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be a hero, all right. You just need to get back into your business of trading, which is basically about following your processes and basically doing the good stuff, and focusing on delivering best practice every day, rather than trying to find an absolute superstar trade and stuff, because they'll come to you once you're back in your groove, won't they?
No, they will, absolutely. And I think that trying to be a hero, you're trying to be a hero for who? You're not trying to be a hero for it's for yourself, and it's only for your own ego at the end of the day. And because people outside of your little community, and more than likely people inside your community, won't see anything anyway. They just see some idiot doing an idiot trade. That's what they want to do. And then people outside who are not from the trading, they either see your success as in that's what you do for your living, or that's you have a nice living out, or you live in a nice house. They see that success, but they don't see your heroic taking one for the team. I bought against the trend and I was wrong, or whatever. Nobody sees those things. It's just no,
agreed. There's absolutely no need to be a hero. No, and I think Paul Tudor Jones has a quote around that, I think, as well, about just absolutely no need to be a hero and stuff and what have you. Yeah. It's about trading well and having your business generate revenues more so than your own ego. But it's always easy to say that, isn't it? So, all right, brilliant. Okay, well let's draw it to a close there, Ian. Thanks as always. Nice to see you. So next week we'll be back for what will be TOGS 26 already. Okay, so this will be the end of calendar Q3. All right. So what we'll be looking at is a case of we'll talk about end of this it's a bitty quarter, right? Because a lot of people taking off on breaks, but we've had price action during August, which is unlike anything you'd normally see. But also we are looking at end of this quarter, but then also going into this final quarter of the year, which I think is going to be a really eventful quarter. Of course, we've got the US elections, and from tonight when we're recording this, the likelihood is the Americans will start their easing policy, monetary easing policy. With that from the Fed this evening, so the landscape and the environment's going to change, and we can talk about how we're going to manage that for the last few months of 2024. So
just to say about that, I think that's been causing the really short-term charts to be wicky and to be all over the place this week. They weren't great, the charts this week.
Some big, So for me, FX traders, some really big swings on sterling and their dollar this week and stuff, really, which in hindsight look absolutely fantastic, because they always do look fantastic in hindsight, but actually, just looking at it, just trying to understand what's going on there. I think it's just positioning before these next few eventful days. So
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, listen, as always, everybody, thanks very much for joining us. I hope you found that useful. Hope that's given you a bit of help, a bit of insight. As always, please, we always just say, if you like it, great, give us a like. If there are questions, by all means, or comments, please put them in. All right. As I said, if you subscribe to the YouTube, that's fabulous. And as I said, you can also, if you want to see more about us, you can go to the website togspod.com, where we'll start to build that up as well. Thanks to our friends Shane and Anne for that. Okay. All right, everybody, have yourself a fabulous trading week. Enjoy these next few days. Okay. It's going to be rather eventful with all those central bankers speaking, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Bye-bye.